Every few years, a movie comes along that completely changes our entire perspective on certain elements of war and how it's portrayed. It highlights specific aspects of one of the most glorified actions of humanity that's never been translated to ordinary audiences, and then in turn ends up moving a generation. Warfare is the latest in the lineage of those films. Today I went with my dad to see Warfare, and I have to say, I haven't felt like this in a movie theater in a long time. I mean, almost as far back as maybe Black Hawk Down when I saw that as a kid. In this video, we're going to talk about what makes Warfare stand out when compared to other war movies, why I personally loved it so much, and just some, random personal thoughts I had on my first run through my first time watching it. Let's proceed. Now, the only thing you need to know about this story is that it takes place in Ramadi, Iraq in November 2006, and that opening scene really sets the tone for what's to come, but not in the way that you think. You know that if a war movie starts out with this much happiness, that it's probably going to be balanced out with some seriously gut-wrenching content. Once you watch enough good movies, you start to recognize that once you're pulled one way, be ready to be pushed right to the other.
Let's just drink your water.
The lead up to the action in this movie is so intense and so nail-biting that when it finally actually happens, you somehow couldn't be more caught off guard. Editor's note here, I was squirming uncontrollably in my seat during some of these opening sequences, just waiting for, the action to unfold. I took my hat off at one point. I brought my hoodie up at one point. I sat back. I leaned forward. I brought my knees up. I leaned towards my dad. And then I still was blown away. It really is remarkable what they're able to present to you, how they're able to make you feel with no background music. They don't give you much character background. They just put you in the moment, and just from their perspective, what they want to highlight. The movie pulls you in and makes you think about certain things that you've never thought about before. And that's how you know it's real. That's how you know it's authentic. You have people that were in that situation that have experienced those types of little things that you never see, because people who are in those situations normally don't talk about it at all. And again, there's a few examples in this movie that we'll talk about later exactly highlight that. For example, in the movie, there's numerous times where you see soldiers have their gear or other people's things get caught up in, something they're being brought by, and you can see how it impacts them. And it's little things like that you don't ever think about. This movie happens all within a vacuum. Nothing exists outside of this house and this street. It's hard to get any more personal. You are put in one house and you're pretty much put in their situation from start to finish, and that's it. You don't go anywhere else. And the journey they take you on is definitely one that stands out. I mean, not only is just the content matter itself, some of the things that happen just so overwhelming and just really it's a lot that weighs on you.
Hit that subscription button and turn on notifications.
You also have just the sound design of this movie. This is by far the loudest movie I've ever heard in my life. My dad next to me, it was so loud that I could see he was actually visibly annoyed for a second, but again, I also recognize he's on edge. I mean, my dad was in the military, and a lot of those situations he's familiar with. He probably has some level of connection to what he's experienced in his life, to what's happening there, and I can understand how it would impact him like that, let alone myself. I mean, I cried during this movie. One aspect I can't even imagine. Like, I still feel like a young kid, and I'm 37, and then you look back and there's kids who are 22, 24, 20, 10 plus years my junior who are in the military, and they're in these situations, and it just broke my heart in that moment. And I just thought how grateful I am to be making videos on sports, video games, and movies. And I'm grateful for all the soldiers and all the people who have committed their lives, and the people around them who have committed their lives to making the things happen that have had to happen for me to have been here.
Right.
As I said before, the sound design in this movie, it's so loud, it's so crisp. There's a part where it zooms in on the M249, and oh my gosh, I mean, it was so loud you could have sworn someone was shooting an M249 in the theater with us. And if you want to talk about loud, there's different times in the movie where they bring in the jets very close to the ground. They call it show of force, and that might actually be the loudest thing I've ever heard in a theater, maybe my life, and also the coolest. My adrenaline just started dumping when that happened, because obviously it was happening at very epic climactic moments of the movie, and just wow, wow. When I was going into the movie, I was telling my dad, I knew at some level this movie was going to be different. I know it's made by A24 Studios. I knew it wasn't just going to be this, rough and tumble, rugged battle, movie. I knew there would be a layer above it, beneath it, whatever you want to call it. I recognized there would be a layer beneath that was more focused on probably the experience of the soldiers, but I had no idea it was going to be this gritty and intense. I mean, the screaming of soldiers in pain and the amount they scream and for how long they scream, that aspect, I think they did a really good job, taking that in and out, because at some point or another as an audience, we're not really capable of hearing someone scream in agony as they're dying, for an hour straight. So I do appreciate how they kind of weave in and out of that, but they kept it there and they kept it real and they kept it on your mind, because again, these people are experiencing some of the most mentally traumatic things really imaginable in human history that humans can experience today. I talk about this all the time. People in the military, veterans who've experienced battle, who've been in wars, they've encountered things that We aren't even capable of imagining being so horrible, and they have to experience that while we're not even aware they exist. You know what I mean? So like they live in a different reality than we do. That plays a role in their mental health. It's part of the reason why Frodo goes to the Undying Lands in Lord of the Rings, because after he endured all that, he had no one to relate to once he got back. And that's how soldiers feel. They go out, experience some of these most horrific, crazy things that no one even knows about, that's even going on out there. And they're supposed to just fit right back into society and relate to their problems. It's not easy, and a lot of time not possible. I'll see you later, Frodo. And even though the plot stays specifically around the soldiers in that house, they do a really good job of also maneuvering within the house and showing different people's perspectives and providing possible smaller plots that may unfold that don't actually do. Again, I was really impressed with the way they also presented the Iraqi people, the family. That's really obviously a sensitive subject for so many people today, because as we look back, we recognize the reason why we went into Iraq was not exactly, true. You know what I mean? There really wasn't anything there. And then in the aftermath, studies have shown, research has shown that over 1 million Iraqis died from starvation, lack of water, of the war's casualties.
And brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq too. Anyway, 75.
You don't want to demonize those people, because as I was talking to my dad, I was telling him if, a foreign country invaded the United States and claimed, there's a reason for them coming here and doing this, and we knew it was false, would I fight back? And yeah, I would. So I respect that. And again, this movie was made 10, 20 years ago. Obviously, they would add an element of bad guys to them, but I don't think I saw a single person, any of the Iraqis die, which, I understand. Some people might not like, but I understand. And what's kind of crazy, if you really think about it, the way the movie starts, the premise as to why they're found out, as to why the local Iraqis know they're there, it's kind of crazy to think like, yeah, why didn't you just go around? Why didn't you just break into the other door and avoid making any noise at all? It's not really even focused on, but it's just one of those things where you think about, it's like how such crazy huge things can happen from the smallest decisions. And for the family of the house that they commandeered, could you imagine just not only how terrifying that would be, but after all of that ensued and happened, your family would either be the closest family ever and nothing could ever break you apart, or you would be the most dysfunctional, problematic family of all time. The part where they go out for the original evac to get out the original guy and they send out the 2 Iraqi translators first. Did anybody notice they let them go out by themselves first? Is that something that you do tactically to let the smaller guys attract arms fire and then you send the big group out? Or did they just completely set him up? Because there was like an element where they made Sam feel like he might have been a little bit of a bad guy, him like not only coming from the Gladiator 2, which so we all knew he just played a bad guy, but that weird him taking his finger across that metal grate with the sand or dust, whatever that was. And then, with that look he gave, I wasn't sure if that was supposed to mean that he sent those guys out with bad intentions for them to die first. I don't know. Again, let me know in the comments if that is a tactical maneuver or if just that was actually kind of messed up on their part. One thing that has to be acknowledged is that Navy SEALs are absolute monsters. This movie gets so many things right, but one thing it just can't portray is just how big these men actually are. Just look how big he is. Can you imagine how jacked he actually was back in these missions during 2006? I'll be dropping a full review of this movie as well with my dad, so make sure to hit the subscription button and turn on notifications so you get that. Again, this movie was crazy. I was somber today. It's impacted me. I cried. It just has made me realize how fortunate I am. That movie, I don't want to say it was perfect, but it was done super, super well, and it had one goal in mind, and they accomplished it. And so I highly recommend it. I would probably give it like a 9 out of 10. It's genuinely that good. There's no politics. There's no silly Billy, antics. It's just straightforward, it's warfare. And again, thank you for all the soldiers, for all the veterans out there, and all their families who have sacrificed so much for the free world of the world. Alright, that's enough yapping for today.
Almost every one of my channel's viewers is not subscribed to the channel. Do me a huge favor and hit that subscription button. We're trying to get monetized. My dog and I. And if you enjoyed this video, think about watching either of these videos that's on the screen out there and do something great.